I want to talk about sex. And I don't just want to talk about sex. I want to talk about good sex. So listen up. If you guys head over to bluechew.com, blue like the color blue, you'll find that they have the first chewable tablets with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis. So you know they already work. You can take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach. And since they're chewable, they work twice as fast as a pill. So you can be ready whenever that opportunity arises. Who wouldn't want to benefit from an extra boost of confidence? Who? Okay, Blue Chew is fast and it's an easy way to enhance your performance, okay? Blue Chew is prescribed online and is shipped straight to your door in a discreet package. So there's no doctor's visits, there's no waiting in the pharmacy, and best of all, there's no awkwardness. There's no embarrassment here, okay? They're made in the US, they ship in the US, and they're cheaper than a pharmacy. So right now, though, we have this special deal for our US listeners. Visit bluechew.com and get your first shipment free. And when you use our special promo code, WHOA, just pay $5 in shipping. Again, it's bluechew.com, BLUE chew.com. Don't forget to use our promo code WHOA to try it free. How great is this deal, and where could you go wrong? Okay, trust me on this, fellas. I believe in Blue Chew, and shout out to Blue Chew for sponsoring this awesome podcast.
The one thing that I believe would work everywhere is fighting, because it doesn't matter what color you are, what country you come from, or what language you speak. We're all human beings, and fighting's in our DNA, man. We get it and we like it.
Hi, I'm Michael Morgan, and welcome to this week's episode of the WHOACAST. Joining me, as always, my co-defendant, G from State Farm.
Yes, your cellmate has arrived. How are you, Michael?
Indeed. In glorious stereo, nonetheless.
Yes, much louder, much clearer, and I'm so excited about that.
So how was your weekend? What were you up to?
My weekend was full of MMA, as usual. Nothing's changed. I watched the Bellator, 224, and UFC Sacramento, I believe.
Sweet. Well, that kind of like semi-describes what we're going to be discussing. Yes, we're going to look at the fallout from those two cards, but also we're going to be joined by our special guests, Marc Diakiese, Norman Parke, Ellenor, and Cian Cowley. Now, over the weekend, I have to say, whilst you were watching fights, I took in a few fights, but your boy was out there getting ready for 100 miles. I'm doing a 100 mile trek on a bike. I'm going from a place called London to Surrey. Now, that's basically going to take the best part of 6 or 7 hours. And I'm doing that to raise money for Bipolar UK, which is essentially an organisation which looks after the interests of those who suffer from the debilitating mental health illness, bipolar. If you wanted to support me, you can visit my Just Giving page, which is justgiving.com/WHOATV. And I'm expecting to see your signature at the top of that page, G.
Oh, you better believe it, because I am a mental health advocate. I support you. I think you're a little crazy for riding your bike for 100 miles, but I support you in this cause. And I hope you make it. I hope you make it so that we can continue to record this podcast, and God forbid anything happens to you. I'm worried. 100 miles, bro?
100 miles.
Woo! You're in shape.
I'm going to be like NWA, 100 miles on riding.
Oh, my God. Well, good luck to you. Good luck to you, and, more power to you. I'll be on the couch watching MMA.
Speaking of MMA, obviously we had an incredible couple of nights of fights over the weekend. I mean, starting off with Bellator on Friday night, the Irish contingent were definitely in effect there. And the one fight, I have to say, which stood out for me, was Sinead Kavanaugh versus Leslie Smith. Not only was there bad blood at the actual weigh-in, but there was obviously bad blood on the night. And I was very impressed, ultra impressed with Sinead Kavanaugh, who I have to say took it to Leslie Smith. You're looking at, strikes from different angles that I've never even seen from Sinead. I didn't know that she had in her armoury. I didn't know, she was that much of a tactician. She played a smart game and, ultimately, though, didn't secure the win. But ultimately, I have to say, has gone up in my estimation. Did you actually catch that fight?
Oh, yeah, I caught that fight. I love this fight. It's so funny because I had tweeted about this fight because, I watched it late and the tweeters were like, oh, it wasn't that good. And then I go home and I watch it. I'm like, what the hell were y'all talking about? This fight was wonderful. And I'm with you, Michael. Sinead just clearly showed me that she's a boxer. She had some beautiful counters. She never gave up. She's got some heart. But Leslie Smith, ultimately, that experience and what she brings to MMA was too much for Sinead. I mean, Leslie was hitting her with all types of stuff and just would not get out of her face. And I liked how Leslie was cutting off the cage. I would like how she was cutting her off and coming directly at her and not giving Sinead the space she needed to drop the bombs. And ultimately, you're right. Leslie did get the majority win. One judge did go for a draw, which was interesting because, Sinead, Sinead put in that work. That's why. But I'll say it again. I think it was Leslie Smith's veteran experience. And I think we also need to discuss the fact that Leslie hasn't fought in almost 2 years. It's been quite a while. And she looked great. Her cardio wasn't affected. And she was just putting those shots out there and stayed in her face all 3 rounds. I love the fight.
Not only did we see Sinead representing Ireland, but also Kiefer Crosby, unfortunately, was disqualified. That illegal knee, you could see that wasn't intentional. You could see, if that was to play out, let's just take away the illegal knee. He had Mike Jackson on the back foot. Kiefer Crosby looked ferocious.
Oh, he did. And it's so funny. I caught the fight somewhat late. And then I saw the illegal knee. And I said, oh, no. It's the fight's over. And it was unfortunate because Kiefer was doing quite well. And it was unfortunate. But things like this happen in MMA. And Kiefer just has to use this as a learning moment, like a teachable moment. You know what I mean? And I guarantee you he'll watch those knees from here on out.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it was up to Will Fleury, though, who brought the victory home for Ireland. I mean, basically defeating Antonio Jones in a unanimous decision.
How was that fight? I missed that one. An exciting unanimous decision? Or
I would say it was an exciting unanimous decision. People, in the run-up to the fight were saying, Will Fleury, this was an incredible test for him. It was a step up. And Antonio Jones is no slouch. But I rarely say this about fights which go to a decision, but it was definitely entertaining. I mean, speaking of Ireland, though, I think that this is a nice point at which we can segue into our first guest, and that's Cian Cowley. He takes on Magic Gawinski at Brave 24 at the Copper Box, London. It's a pleasure to welcome to this week's WHOACAST, Cian Cowley. How you doing, my brother?
How's things, mate? How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for taking the time. I know that we've literally just caught you as you've come out of the gym. I take it you're now winding down, seeing as though we are so close to fight day and fight night, indeed.
Yeah, I was just last kind of intense session there today. Like I was sparring this morning, and then I was just doing some movement work tonight. So that's kind of it now. Really, I just have to stay loose the next few days, and that's it. Yeah, the hard work is done. I've been non-stop since my last fight. Like I've been flat out. So.
And in terms of preparation, I know it's a really Billy Basic question, but I know obviously you train at Straight Blast Gym. I know SBG is obviously your spiritual home, but do you feel inclined to actually move around so that you're picking up new skills, dealing with different situations in terms of sparring partners, or just like, your sparring partner, Conor McGregor, you feel you've got everything under one roof?
Yeah, well, SBG is my home, and it always will be. I don't believe in needing to go elsewhere to search for better training. Like I'm comfortable with me coaches and my teammates in SPG at the moment, and also like I run my own toy boxing gym as well in Dublin, and I have a big stable of toy boxers there, some of the best in the country, like with Irish champions and that there. So I'm spoiled for training partners in Dublin, really, between my own gym and SPG. So there's no lack of training for me. I'm seeing new bodies every day in front of me, so it's great.
So in terms of building up to this, I mean, I have to say, Magic Gajewski, I'm struggling to actually pronounce that surname, but in terms of your opponent, it's not one which I'm familiar with. How much tape would you have actually seen in the run-up now? I mean, how keenly have you got your eye on your opponent?
Yeah, he's actually fought two of my teammates before. I watched both them fights live. Like he's been on the radar a while. Like he's well known on the Irish MMA scene. He's had a lot of fights. Like, you know what I mean, he's around a long time. He's no slouch. Like his record, I think he's better than his record states with his 5-4. You know what I mean? He's been in with some big names as well. Like so. Yeah, I know enough about him. I don't go too much looking into my opponents because like styles can change on the night. You know what I mean? I'll just fight what's in front of me on the night and let my skills do the talking. So yeah, I don't know. I know enough about him, and that's it.
I've spoken to quite a few people from SPG, and what seems to be a current or what seems to be a consistent theme, I mean, regardless of whether it's Conor McGregor, regardless of whether it's James Gallagher, that you're not actually preparing for an opponent. How much of that mindset is within you as well? How much of it is about improving yourself as a professional mixed martial artist, and how much of it is actually preparing for an individual opponent?
Yeah, that's a good question, really. Like a lot of people say that, like, you prepare, like, not to prepare for an individual. Like, it's not. It's a thing I've always just had, really, for all of my fights. Like, even in me throughout my toy boxing career, like, I knew who I was fighting, I knew an awful lot about them, but I never really focused on them and what they were good at. You know what I mean? It's just I think it's too much of a fixed mindset, that is. You know what I mean? It's a fight at the end of the day. Like, it's like anything can happen in a fight. You know what I mean? It's like, to be doing this game plan, this and game plan that. That's all in my head. That's all bollocks. That's weakness to me, really. You know what I mean? I just go in there prepared to fight anything in front of me, whatever's, and then it's my training and my skills and my fight instinct that's gonna get me the win. Do you know what I mean? Not me studying them and then where is he weak? Let's exploit his weak area. Like, that's not me. Like, do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I don't sleep on the fact of looking at opponents and seeing, like, obviously I'll be wary of where they're strong and that, like, but at the same time I don't prepare for an individual. I never have. Like, it is kind of a thing in SPG as well. Like, you know what I mean? John's a very smart coach, as you know. Like, he's very, very clued into the game, and he has a similar view on it as well. So I presume he's right.
And how much of it, I mean, you talk about, you know, the smart head on John Kavanaugh. How much of basically winning the fight before you actually get to the cage is something which you are, you know, really hot on and really keen on and really basically entrenched in your training, your preparation? How much of it for you is psychological warfare as well as physical warfare?
Yeah, John's one of the best coaches in the world. Like, you know what I mean? I'm a coach myself, so I see seeing the way John runs things and all. Like, it's fascinating to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's so up there and he knows how to treat fighters as they are. It's not like I see a lot of other coaches. Like, everyone has their own way of doing things, but I just think John's way of doing things and getting people to have their own individual, like, go with their own mindset, and it's like everybody's different. Like, we can't be teaching, you can't be getting everyone to have the same mindset or the same attitude towards a fight or mental warfare and all this. Everybody's different. Do you know what I mean? And John's very good at letting everyone do their own thing and backing them on where their own strengths are. Do you know what I mean? So like I'm mental warfare and all that. Like all that. I don't know. It's kind of a weird one for me. I don't really get into all that.
It's just really, really, it seems to be a characteristic of SBG because obviously, case in point, James Gallagher is very much into getting into his opponent's head. So is Conor McGregor. So is Richard Kiley. It just makes me think that perhaps, in sort of like an art of war type preparation scenario, this seems to be something which is instilled in SBG fighters because it does seem to be very specific to the gym. That seems to be a recurring theme.
I think it's more just Irish, mate, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? They're just like them three lads there are as strong Irish genetics in them boys. Do you know what I mean? Conor, James and Richie, like that's just that's their way of doing it, like, but that's as Irish as it comes, like, do you know what I mean? Like they've a fight from the get go. It's the fight is from everything on the leading up to it and all the mind games. That's their way of doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not just a gym thing. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like they're like I'd be the opposite of that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I just like fucking don't get me wrong. Like I do be thinking a bit on the different side. I'd be thinking things but keeping them to myself. Do you know what I mean? Like yeah, but that's an Irish thing. I don't think that's just an SBG thing. Do you know what I mean? That's just an Irish thing, really.
I hear you. I mean, I'm intrigued about the whole concept around Brave 24. The fact that it's invitation only. Unfortunately, I'm going to be overseas when it is actually taking place in London, which is a bit unfortunate considering I live in London. But the concept of invite only, the concept of it being a little bit more intimate, the concept of it being, that it's different, it's away from the norm. I mean, how much of this concept are you loving, and how much of it is a little bit of a hindrance, considering that you strike me as the kind of individuals who obviously wants as many eyes on your product, as in you, as possible. And obviously, to get your name out there means that, the more people watching, the more, obviously, the news of you spreads, right?
Yeah, of course. There's a force for everything, and brave are brave with things like this. You know what I mean? They're willing to take the risks and put on shows, exotic shows like this. You know what I mean? This is I think it's great for MMA. I love the whole concept of it. You know what I mean? Like bringing it to London and having it in the arena that it's in, and like the way the invite list that they have, like some of the guests that they have, we've seen some of the guests that they have coming. Like it's crazy. It's going to be madness. So you got on the night when there's going to be so many high profile people in the one building all watching MMA. A lot of them have never even been to an MMA show before and wouldn't even be that educated on what MMA is. Do you know what I mean? So I'd say, like, a lot of people that don't know MMA have this misconception of MMA. Like it's a barbaric kind of sport. They don't see the real side of it. And going to a live show like this, getting invited to a live high end show like this is going to be great, because it's going to bring some new high profile fans, which in turn will build MMA. And if they turn into fans and they're promoting on their socials and stuff like that, it's going to be great. Do you know what I mean? So it's a great way of doing it. It's like it's a once off. It's not as if it's going to be all the time. This is just a once off. As well, like I had a lot of Irish people that would have travelled over to London to watch it. Like the amount of people saying it to me, like it's mad. Like and I can't have anyone going over because it's invite only. So that side is a bit bad, but look, it's a once off, and it's going to be great it's obviously going to be great for my profile as well. I'm going to put on a show in front of all these people, and they're all going to want to know me after. Do you know what I mean? So it's a great thing for me as well. I'm fully prepared to put on a show here and show them what a real MMA athlete and fighter is. Do you know what I mean? Like a true martial artist. I will show all them people in the venue on the night. So.
I mean, speaking of profiles, your profile, obviously, to address the elephant in the room, was heightened in 2018 when, obviously, a dolly ended up being thrown through a bus window. Now, obviously, I'm not asking you to go into specifics, But, if you could actually look back on that event, considering what actually happened, do you think you would have done anything different?
Well, well, it is what it is. What happened, do you know what I mean? There's no point in dwelling on the past now. It's just everyone goes through times like that, you know what I mean? And does things like this. These things happen, you know what I mean? It is what it is. We just moved on now, and I don't like to dwell on things like that, you know what I mean? It happened. What happened, and that was that. You know what I mean? And here we are now, 4 fights later.
And it being invite only, can the brave crowd at Brave 24, can they expect to see Conor McGregor in attendance?
I don't know. You'll have to beg to get on that invite list to find out, because it's the only way you're gonna know if he's in the building. Be there on the night.
Incredible. Cian, it's been incredible speaking with you. Thank you so much for sparing the time.
Thanks very much for having me on, mate. I appreciate it, yeah.
You're very, very welcome. So you're always welcome. And best of luck. Even though I am going to be overseas, I will actually be... Well, hopefully they will actually be streaming it either on YouTube or...
I haven't heard anything about that, because everyone's asked me about that as well. I haven't heard about the streaming details. Normally they have it out by now, but I haven't heard any... is there going to be a platform for it? Hopefully there is.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed for that, because I have to say that the actual card itself is incredible. And I do feel as though, the crowd who are going to be in attendance are going to be very well entertained. But thank you again for joining me on this week's WHOACAST.
Nice one, Michael. Talk to you soon, mate.
So, obviously he was very cagey about the whole McGregor bus incident. I didn't really want to press it that much, considering the fact is, from what I gather, that is an ongoing case. And I think it was more important, really, just to, as he said, to really touch on the positivity that, if we look at the whole incident, yes, whilst, it ended in, people, violent acts, there was some positivity to be drawn from it, because, look, he, off the back of that notoriety, got the Brave signing. Off the back of that notoriety, I feel, he was catapulted into the public eye, and more people were watching him. And in terms of his stock, it definitely had risen. But I like the fact that, he's drawn a line in the sand. That isn't him. That was a moment of madness, which,
correct.
He's now looking to kind of bounce back from in a positive light.
Oh, yeah. And I think I'm going to piggyback off what you said. If he can take this and take the positive attributes from this incident and roll it into MMA and what he's going to do and make a name for himself, that would be wonderful. And that's what you do. You kind of take like a negative situation, you don't let it define you, and you use it, for the best. And I think that's what Cian needs to do. But Micah, I will say, while listening to this interview, I was like, oh my God, ask him about the incident. Ask him about the incident. Ask more questions. I wanted to cluck, okay? I wanted to, the bird in me came alive. I wanted to gossip a bit. Like, what were you thinking? Did you have fun at least? Were you scared? I wanted the inside scoop, but ultimately, we got to let that incident go. It was, negative, and some people got hurt, and, it was a big deal. So it's like we do have to let it go,
Yeah, exactly. And like I say, considering that this is an ongoing situation, it's best really to leave things
right, because he's probably legally bound. Like, he can't really discuss it as much as I wanted him to. There's just too much red tape,
I got that impression.
Yeah, definitely.
But speaking of discussions, let's pick up the discussions about this weekend or last weekend's combat offering. UFC rocked up in Sacramento. And I have to say that the one and only matchup on the card I was really, really interested in, and I couldn't wait to actually get round to, was Uriah Faber versus Ricky Simon. And I have to say, I was one of the dissenting voices in the lead up to this, thinking, you know what, ring rust is going to be a thing here. You know what, I feel that he's possibly come back for a little paycheck. Hell no. he laid down an emphatic beating. I think that, Ricky Simon was definitely out of his element. And I love the fact that, Uriah Faber was representing for the 40-year-olds. Love that.
Oh, yeah. It was, I thought it was just amazing. It felt like a fairy tale almost. Like Uriah comes back from retirement. Most of us are like, yeah, here we go again. And he's fighting this like young beast. And me and you both thought that Ricky was going to give him the business. No, Uriah comes out in 46 seconds and clocks this kid with a nice right hand. And this is just a wonderful way to come back from retirement. This is the fastest finish in his entire career. Okay, no, these are facts. Okay,
They are
Michael,
facts.
these are facts.
I know you're not hating. They're
Oh,
facts.
no. These are facts. True to the facts. Listen to this one. His last KO victory was in the WEC in 2007. His last knockout victory. And this is his thank you. And this is his first knockout in the UFC. What? This is a beautiful comeback. Like, this is just, like I said, a fairy tale. And in his hometown, Sacramento, did you hear that crowd?
That's their boy. So, they were representing for their boy, and rightly so. I mean, he did them proud.
Oh, he did everybody proud. Even me, the hardcore fan who was a stickler for the rules. You know me, Michael. Rightful contenders should fight the champion. Here I am like, F all that. Fuck all that. Have Uriah fight Henry Cejudo for the title. I'm sold. Let's get it going. Put Aljo and Joey Benavidez on hold, and let's get him up there. You know what I mean? And that's me, Miss Hardcore by the rules fan. And I'm ready for him to cut the line and fight Henry Cejudo like some bird. You know what I mean? This is nuts.
Now, in the main event, I've got to admit, this wasn't a fight where I was overly excited. But man, did Jermaine Demandamy bring it. And Aspen Ladd came in for some online criticism. I don't know why, because, I feel as though a lot of people are talking about this being an early stoppage, but pause. Let's just pause, pump those brakes. Let's just cast our minds back to what transpired in the run-up to this. In the weigh-ins, she looked like the Walking Dead. She looked like some kind of zombie. Almost had to be carried to those scales.
Michael, she cried.
Well, there you go. Herb Dean, I think, was exercising, emotional intelligence and refereeing intelligence by saying, you aren't defending yourself intelligently on all fours. Not only that, his vantage point isn't where you and I, from our couches, me chewing on my pizza, I don't know what you were sipping on. Probably something, a beverage which you more than likely can get from Lickery, one of our incredible sponsors. We'll get onto that later.
Yes, sir.
But the fact is this. I think I'm going to put my neck out there. I personally think Herb Dean got it right.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm going to put my neck out there and say, I don't agree with you at all.
How? In what state, in what planet does that actually make any sense?
Well, go ahead.
Go on.
No, go ahead.
Go on. I interrupted you.
Well, this is... I love when we don't agree. It's so much fun. This is my thing. Aspen Ladd was medically cleared to fight. Okay?
Yeah.
She looked horrible. And I was one of those people preaching like, this has got to stop on Twitter. I was one of those people that lost it. But she was medically cleared. She looked great the next day. And she was medically cleared. You have to give her a chance to fight. GDR dropped her, yes, very quickly. And she drops to the ground, but if you look closely, she's not unconscious. She turns around and she's about to actively defend, and she puts her feet up and she turns around and she's doing everything right. And Herb just comes in and stops the fight. It's a disservice to Aspen to not give her a chance to recover and let Jermaine win the fight properly. Let her put her opponent down, and if she's medically cleared, Herb Dean doesn't have anything to do with that. He just needs to make sure that, the fight is fair and that she's fighting to her capabilities. And when you stop a fight because you feel bad because she looked bad the night before, that's Herb Dean stepping out of his boundaries. And I think he should speak on it because I think it's all assumption. We really don't know if Herb Dean saw her eyes roll back in her head, or did he feel bad about what we saw the day before. It'd be great if he made a statement, you know?
I've got a feeling, having spoken to Herb Dean in the past, I know he goes on what he can see in the
moment.
fight at play.
Good.
In the moment. Actually, his vantage point is far different from you and I. Plus,
correct, I agree.
Really and truly, come on, can you say that she was intelligently defending herself on all fours, looking like, you know, a lamb basically going to get sheared? It looked as though to me that she was bewildered, she was stunned, and she didn't need to take any more damage.
I feel like the initial shot, yes, it dropped her. But she drops and she gets on all fours and turns to face GDR. I mean, to me, the drop was bad, yes. But she turned her body to face GDR. And then you could even see the confusion when he stops the fight, including me. I was like, what's happening? And the follow-up shot that GDR hit her with, it like hit her shoulder. God bless Herb Dean, because I will say this. As much as I think it's an early stoppage, if he saw something in there that I did not see, oh yeah, it's a good stoppage. Because, again, me and you were not inside that cage. I'm on my couch watching this on a television set. So he has the advantage point, and he's in there. So if Herb Dean saw something we didn't see, like her lights go out and come back on, yeah, he needed to stop the fight. But from my vantage point, I thought it was a bit too early, and I hate that because you're doing a disservice to both fighters when you do that. But one more thing. JDR was going to do that for as long as Herb Dean was going to allow that fight to happen. I am one of those people that thought that Aspen Ladd was in over her head, and I am not surprised that the first punch Jermaine threw dropped her on her ass. I'm just not surprised. So even though this was a terrible stoppage to me, not surprised that the first combo dropped her easy.
As we've made a pit stop at the UFC, I think it's time we brought in our next guest, and that's Marc Diakiese. Joining me now is one of the UK's most flamboyant strikers. It's Marc Bone Crusher Diakiese. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Well, you know something, it's been a while since we've seen or heard anything from you, and you are very vocal normally online. Why the hiatus? Why the quiet? Why the sudden withdrawal from social media?
I think I'm still active. It's just going through them losses. It just kind of showed me what's important and what's not. And I know what's important. You know that will always be there. Social media. I know what matters now, so I'm just doing what I've got to do.
And you spoke about, you know, what actually matters now. Considering where you've come from, you know, you had the backing of, obviously, family, friends, and all of that seems to have sort of changed. Would you say that played a part in the losses, or it had nothing to do with that? It was just you were beat by better fighters in the past?
I always said it had nothing to do with that. You know, I think I was just going through some learning experiences I had to go through, and you know, I embrace it. You know, I feel like I needed it. You know, it was kind of a career that I needed to see that, to become the person I am now. So I embrace it, and it is what it is. Right now, I'm just I think different. I'm a different fighter, and I'm just looking forward to proving myself, not anybody else.
You know something? You know what this reminds me of? It must have been about 3 years ago. You beat a really good friend of mine, Kane Musa. And I remember at the time you saying that, look, I'm unbeaten right now. I've beat Kane, but one day I will be embracing the fact that I've suffered a loss. Now, having gone through that loss, do you think you've actually taken any lessons from that? Because a lot of people say you can either lose or you learn. Now, would you say that there are lessons which you've taken from that?
Yeah, there were definitely some lessons to learn. I've taken a lot from it. You know, from them 3 losses, I took a lot, and I feel like I needed to see it, but I wouldn't have seen it without losses. So now I just embrace it. You know, I think it's a fuel. Yeah, I just feel different as a fighter. I feel like I'm in the right place where I need to be now. So moving forward, I'm gonna be a different animal.
And speaking of being a different animal, I really hope that this isn't the case, only because I'm being really selfish here. But I noticed when you faced your last opponent, Duffy, Joe Duffy, one of the things which I noticed about you, there was either a calmer or more mature approach, not only to the lead up, but the fight itself. There seemed to lack the flamboyant kicks, the strikes, the punches. Basically, a lot of what you were putting on display was a more seasoned, a more mature, a more measured performance. Was that specific for Joe Duffy, or are we seeing a much more reserved, a much more laid back, a much gentler Marc Diakiese?
That's just, I don't know. I don't know if it's just Duffy or I just feel like I understand the game now. I just have to fight. I have to be professional. I have to just every day I carry myself. I have to just carry myself as a professional fighter, a professional guy who fights for a living. So I make sure I try to get better every day in the gym. Trying to be first, always trying to learn something different. And I feel like it's time to show now because as a fighter, I'm maturing, and I think that's what it is.
So, just to re-ask the question, have we seen you draw a line in the sand? Are we no longer going to see the flamboyant Marc Diakiese? Because I have to say, that's the Marc Diakiese that I came to know and love. I like the fact that you were basically putting your skills on the line. I like the fact that you were very showy, and I like the fact that 9 times out of 10 you were backing it up.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but I feel like my last fight was quite exciting. I think I showed my skills, but it was just more calculated. And obviously, that fight was important to win, so I made sure. But in my head now, I know myself. I've been telling myself I'm gonna be getting finishes, and for me to get finished, I need to be exciting, and that's gonna happen. And that's why I'm planning my next fight to just be exciting.
And just on your next fight, there are a couple of rumours circulating at the moment. One destination for the UFC with your name on it seems to be Copenhagen, but also you've been tagged to fight, rumours, if rumours are to be believed, you've been actually tagged to fight Chris Fishgold under Polaris. Now, first of all, just clear up, where are you fighting next?
Well, it could be both. We don't know yet. I know I'm Polaris. That's just grappling. I'm trying to get much of the experience. Just trying to get it all in. And after that, obviously, it looks like I'll be in that card, but we'll see. I'm just trying to see what's happening. We'll see what they give me and stuff. So at the moment, I know I'm definitely doing a Polaris, but UFC's 20th of September. We're seeing something. I'm waiting for something.
Now, allow me to play matchmaker ever so slightly. I think you know what's coming next. On the show, a few months back, I had one of your adversaries, one of your nemesis, and that was Stevie Ray. Now, he seemed to feel as though the beef between you and him was still alive. First of all, from your perspective, what was that beef, or what is that beef about?
I don't really want to talk about that. He's a kind of strange. He's a strange guy. I think I've still got him blocked everywhere because that is that strange. So I'd rather not. I think he's probably still recovering from that knockout, so I'm not gonna talk about him.
Ooh, but I mean, if you permit me, just the final thing I just wanted to say on Stevie Ray, is that something that would get you excited? Because obviously there is history between you. Obviously there's beef.
No,
Obviously,
I can't lie. No, I was so happy when I heard it was Duffy. It's tough of him, to be fair, because he pulled out. So when I had a good Duffy, I thought that was even a better fight, harder fight, and more of me earning something out of it. So I beat someone better now. I'm trying to get somebody even better now.
and just to circle back ever so slightly on Polaris, I mean, what is it about grappling, considering how flamboyant and how lethal you are as a striker? What is it about Polaris, which is essentially a grappling tournament? What was it that excited you about that?
I mean, I watched some of the matches and stuff, and I obviously got approached after my last grappling match I did in Pantheon in Leeds, and that went quite well. And I think some guy from Polaris got in contact with me and said, "Yeah, I'll do it." I'm just having fun with, with the sport now. Before I feel like I wasn't having as fun anymore. I was just doing it for different reasons. Where now I feel like this is what I love doing. I know what I'm doing, and I just want to have fun, and that's what I'm doing.
And just in, having fun, what is it that you're doing in your downtime when you're obviously not in the gym over there? Because did you say you're in Rotterdam right now?
No, Breda. It's like 1 hour from Amsterdam.
Ah.
Yeah. It's Nick Hemmer's gym.
Oh, okay. So it's an hour. It's an hour from Amsterdam. I mean, what's if you don't mind me asking, what's the leisure time? What's keeping you? What are you doing to occupy yourself in your downtime over there?
Literally, I'm like coming home, sleeping, waking up, going to gym. I've only got 4 weeks here, and I don't mind doing this routine. And I'm just watching some fights, just studying fights on my phone. And because I haven't got a TV or anything, that's what I'm literally doing every day, waking up, and it's like the same routine. I'm trying to keep up to that for 4 weeks. When I go back home, is like, okay, I'm ready to start my camp now.
So, how does that actually fit in with where you are in the UK? Because I remember you saying you'd actually, you're spending more time in the UK now. How is this actually slotting into the whole training regime?
If it's perfect, I mean, I feel like I have a team now, a better team. I mean, I'm working with Danny Mitchell. It's him that actually got me in contact with this guy here, and he got it all sorted for me to come over. So I'm working with him, and we're going to go a plan together. Everybody comes together, puts a plan together when I have a fight. But like, we know how much time I have, so obviously it's okay for me to come here, get my skills, and go back and start the camp. I'll have 8 weeks when I go back, so that will be enough time for me to do a camp.
Incredible. Well, can't wait to see you get back inside the cage, and I'm really quite intrigued to see how you actually fare against Chris Fishgold when you actually, clash on the mats. Looking really forward to both.
Cheers.
It's been great catching up with you, Marc. Thank you again for your time.
No problem.
Marc Diakiese, I have to say, is a changed individual to the Marc Diakiese who basically years ago was flashy, was flamboyant, was full of the big talk which he backed up. And I like the way in which he segued into the more mature, the more measured, the more thoughtful Marc Diakiese. He's coming across as somebody who has really taken stock after that loss or a series of losses, and knowing that he had to fight for his career when he actually fought Joe Duffy, and actually coming to the realization that, you know what, let me take stock of what's important. What's important isn't me being flashy, isn't me being flamboyant. It's me actually delivering spectacular performances and actually giving it energy, giving it vim, giving it vigor, but without the need to, with your chest, saying things which, you later can't really back up.
Right.
Letting your performance speak for you in the cage, I think, what is a real old cliche, which he was definitely, looking to exercise.
Oh, yeah. From what I was hearing from the interview, it sounds like he's at a point in his career where he's balancing everything that you said. He has to balance the entertainment, showman aspect of, fighting in the UFC, and also winning fights and putting on a good show, but also doing it smart. So he can't just always be this flashy fighter that's always making us happy, because flashy can get him knocked out. I mean, he had a couple of losses here. Okay, so there comes a point to me where you have to balance that. And I think that's what we were hearing in this interview. You know what I mean? Like, even when you tried to bring up the beef he had with the other fighter. What's the other fighter you were discussing some beef? Can't remember his name.
Stevie Ray.
Oh yeah, he shut that down quick. Did you notice that? He was like, the guy's a little off. Next. He's not here for it.
Old Marc Diakiese would be looking to fan the flames. He'd want that fight. He'd want that confrontation. He'd want that clash. new Marc Diakiese is all business. He is, look, let me get a fight that advances my career and not one which actually is about beef, is about confrontation, is about clashing. And I have to applaud him. Not that I like that type of thing. I just have to applaud him because that isn't the Marc that I know and love. That isn't the Marc where, let's just call it as it is, was winning fans because of that clash mentality.
It works. It sells. That's what, I appreciate about Marc is that he's finding a balance. He's not the cringe king, and then he's not like trying to be too flashy in the octagon and risking losses. Now he wants to dial it back and be a winner, and I respect that because he wants to keep us entertained, but he also doesn't want to get cut from the UFC and have his dreams shut down. And talking about a fighter that he's beefing with or was beefing with is not really on the agenda, and I think you respect that, you know what I mean? And I respect the fact that Twitter doesn't really affect him like that. Like, he's even fallen back from Twitter, and it makes me wonder, like, does Twitter affect these fighters? Like, when fans tag them in not so nice posts, and when they say things about them and it actually gets to the fighter and you tag them, how much of that does it have an effect on a fighter? Enough so I wonder for this guy to just kind of be like, that shit don't matter, I don't even check it no more. Do you know what I mean?
That's just it. I do think that there are fighters out there who do check out things they've been tagged in. I personally, unless you're either promoting an interview, I mean, I often tag fighters in things which we've recorded, whether it be audio, whether it be video. Mm-hmm. Well, not only is it positive, but they want to actually, they want to, what's the word I'm looking for? Amplify the traction that an article, that a video, that a bit of audio would actually get. They don't want to amplify negativity. And a lot of these people who are tagging fighters, I'm not sure whether they're doing it just for spite. I don't know whether they're doing it because they're trying to get attention. I don't know whether they're doing it because they want notoriety, but it just doesn't make an awful lot of sense. It actually sucks, and I think it makes people, or it has people coming across as either bitter or jealous or
thirsty for attention.
Motive.
Right. It's, I don't know if you noticed this, but I have a lot of controversial tweets. I speak my mind, whether it's negative or positive, but what I do is not tag the fighters. But because like my tweets are so colorful, people will tag the fighters. And I'm just like, I really like that, we have camaraderie in this and you like what I'm saying and you're pissed off too. But it doesn't mean tag the fighter. They're human beings. I'm not trying to hurt their feelings. I'm just trying to bitch and moan to other people that feel this way too, or to other fans, and have like a nice debate or have a nice conversation about MMA. I just don't get the people that tag fighters. Why would you want them to see me or other people be like, oh, his performance sucked, I wish he would have done this? Why would you want a fighter to see that? It is unbelievable. But at the same time, this is sports. We can discuss negative performances, cringe king. We have opinions and we're people too, and we love the sport. But to tag 100%. A fighter is trash. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, not many people actually consider when they're tagging the fighters the personal battles that they're going through, some of the mental anguish which fighters are going through. I mean, speaking of mental anguish, it came up in an interview which I did with Ellenor, which I think it's an opportune time now to segue into.
Absolutely.
He faces James Gallagher in the main event of Bellator Dublin in September 27th. It's a pleasure to welcome to this week's WHOACAST, Ellenor. How you doing, my man?
Hey, mate. How you doing? I'm good, thanks.
Fantastic. Now, I want to take you back to when basically you secured the win over Nathan Grayson. I put my hand up. I will be the first to admit that in the run-up to that fight, I have to admit that I had Nathan Grayson running through you. Now, how much, in terms of the build-up, I'm guessing that I wasn't the only dissenting voice. You knew how you were going to take him out, but I guess I wasn't the only person thinking that. How much of that rhetoric got to you? How much of it affected you?
None of it really, to be honest. as I was saying before, like, people always seem to kind of write us off because maybe, I don't know if it's just because they haven't really seen much of me fighting, or they don't respect my style or whatever it is, but people always seem to think I'm going to get beat, and then I always seem to come out on top, you know. Just one of them things. It's just everyone seems to always overlook us, but I'm just going to keep beating who's in front of us until I'm in a position where people realise how good I am, you know. And everybody gets through us that much. It's just another thing that makes us more motivated and makes us want to prove it more, you know.
And that's one of the things I have to say that I struggled with in the run-up to this, because in the run-up to your fight with Nathan Grayson, I've got to be the first, again, to admit that I hadn't actually come across you. I mean, where had you been plying your trade? Where was it that you were actually enhancing your craft? Because you basically were slipping, or you had actually slipped under the radar.
Yeah. I fought locally. Obviously, when I first started out as a pro, as most do, I fought up in Scotland. Fought a decent guy up in Scotland. I had a good fight up there, and then basically I got a fight on ACB when ACB came to England, and then basically I won that fight. And then Carl Prince was the matchmaker for that event, and he basically got in touch with my coach. They needed a bantamweight guy to fight out in South Africa, and I just recently fought at a catchweight. I'd normally be fighting at featherweight, and I just did a catchweight. And bantamweight was always where I knew I wanted to be. You know, I'm a big, tall guy, but the people who fight at featherweight are always way bigger than us, and it was just something I always wanted to do. I always wanted to drop there that 135 limit, and that came about, but it was a bit too short notice for me to make it at the time, so they said to take it at the catchweight. So I did that. In taking that fight at the catchweight, they then gave us a contract at a bantamweight. So after I did the catchweight fight, basically I got signed to AFC, so I was fighting in South Africa for a while, and then I fought for the title out there. And then obviously when I had that fight, then that's when the Bellator card was coming back to it was coming to the Northeast. And then they offered us Nathan Grayson. Basically said that there's a fight there if you want it. Nathan Grayson, former Cage Warriors world champion. He's moving over to Bellator now, moving up to bantamweight. And I already knew who Nathan was. I was already kind of a fan of his. I watched him fight Sam Creasy, and I rate Sam Creasy a lot. And I seen Nathan Grayson's fight with him, so I knew it was going to be a really interesting fight, a really dangerous fight as well. So it was a fight that I was massively up for, because it was something I'd always wanted. I always wanted to fight these notable guys, have these big names on my record. So as soon as that fight was offered, it was a no-brainer for me. So I just took that, and then that's when I kind of took that fight and signed us to give us a multi-fight deal.
So basically, it was off the back of that win that you are now facing James Gallagher, which is a massive leap, considering you came in almost, to a certain extent, unsigned. You're now signed. I'm guessing, to a multi-fight deal.
Yeah. Well, that was the terms when they offered us the Nathan Grayson fight. They said, so we've got this fight for you, and we'll give you a 4-fight deal. And it was a good contract. So I took it. Obviously, I would have took it for the opportunity to fight someone like Nathan Grayson for buttons anyway. I wasn't bothered about the money at all. That was just a little sweetener, really. That was a good contract, because I would fight him. I would have fought him for nothing, a chance to fight a world champion, and then obviously to have more opportunities like this, getting signed to that roster. Then I was well up for it. Yeah. So yeah, that's what they said. They said fight him, and we'll give you a contract.
Amazing. Now on September 27th, right?
Yeah.
When you actually faced James Gallagher, he, for want of a better expression, he's called it the Jimmy Show. And there does tend to be an air of psychological warfare in the run-up to his fight. How much of that are you paying attention to in terms of entertainment value at the very least? And how much of it are you actually blocking out?
It's not so much blocking it out. I'm just kind of just rolling with it, really. Like, that kind of stuff doesn't bother us at all. It brings more attention to our fight anyway. And as you said earlier, people always seem to overlook me, and it's the same case now in my eyes. Like, all the kind of, a lot of the pro MMA guys, amateur guys, or MMA coaches, or people who know fighters, are all, most of the ones I've seen have all got me picked to win this one, but all the media and a lot of the casuals, if you call them that, all think I'm just going to get run over, you know. And so it's good him bringing all that attention to it, and people thinking what they're going to think is, it just makes my job easier. Like that, I'm not really affected by that stuff at all. Like I've had it before, you know, I've dealt with people like that my whole life, and I just believe in myself so much that no matter what he says or whatever he says he's going to do, it just doesn't bother us at all, because in my head I know what I can do, and I know what I'm capable of, and I know that on the night I've got much more tools than he has to win the fight, so it doesn't bother us at all. And I think it's funny, you know, and it's a laugh, and it's different, and he brings good hype to it, so I'm buzzing to have that on board, and just another, it's going to promote me just the same way. If he's firing back and forth stuff at me, it's just going to promote me anyway, so I'm not really bothered by it in the slightest.
So you mentioned there, obviously, you're, you know, without a shadow of a doubt, going in there to win. How does the win, when it plays out in your mind's eye? I mean, I'm guessing that there's a certain amount of visualization that goes on before and in the run-up to the fight. How does this fight actually play out in your mind's eye?
I break him. That's what I think. I just think I've been in the trenches a lot more than he has, and I know I'm much more mentally strong than he is, and I'm tougher than he is, and I'm going to bring a different kind of pace than he's used to. He's good at what he does. He's got good abilities. You know, I'm not saying he's not a great fighter. He's really good, and that's why he's in the position he is. I think a lot of fighters always kind of try and disregard him and put him down just because they're jealous of where he is or how successful he's been. I'm real. I know he is definitely a tough fight, and he's good at what he does. I'm not saying he's not a good fighter at all, but I just believe in myself so much that I just see me going in there and doing what I do, and I just think no matter where the fight goes, I can beat him. I think any way it goes, I just think any kind of aspect the fight hits the floor, I think I can beat him there. On the feet, I think I can beat him. I'm a better wrestler than him. I'm tougher than him, and I'm stronger than him. So I'm not really bothered about any kind of way it plays out. I think, like, in my head, I can submit him or I can knock him out. So I'm not really fussed. I'll take the finish any way it comes, but I definitely don't see it going the distance. I definitely see me stopping him within the distance.
It's interesting you touched on the fact that you feel that you're mentally strong and mentally stronger than James Gallagher, because that was one of the most honest moments I've ever experienced with James. At the post-fight interview of his last fight, he did mention that, you know, he had basically an anxiety attack in the run-up to the fight, but it was that anxiety attack which strengthened his mind, didn't break his mind. So he does feel as though there's a fortress around it now. You must have heard that. When you hear that, and then, you know that psychological warfare will be at play, considering what he said about how fortified his mind is, doesn't that make you feel that you're not going to obviously break him mentally?
No, I just think you can see anything you want, but realistically, every fighter feels the same thing. Every single person gets these little anxiety attacks, and the more you let the bad thoughts in, the more they kind of take over your mind. I just feel like if that's the case, then he's just been overthinking it all too much. I just feel like everyone feels the same stuff. You know, it doesn't matter like what you put on yourself. If he's feeling that way, then it's just because he's putting pressure on himself. Like I'm not. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, obviously, people think a certain way. Like, I'm not scared to lose at all, and that's why I feel like that's why I'll be so much better in this fight. Like, I honestly, like, winning's always nice, but I'm not afraid to lose at all, and that's what I think he's putting that much pressure on, because he's terrified to lose, whereas I'm not. I'll try stuff. I'm not scared to take risks in the fight. You know, I'll try things that most people probably wouldn't try, and I just think that's why it's going to be a great matchup. But aside from that, I just think that's why I'm going to win. I just feel like my mindset going in is like kill or be killed, and I definitely just see me putting it on him and just coming out with a win. I just don't see it going any other way. Even if whatever he tries to do, if he tries to take it down, even if he's on me back, if you watch any fight I've been in, if you watch some of the positions I've been in, a lot of people's counted this out and thought I've been done. Whereas in my head, I've been super relaxed. If you watch how composed I am in any fight when someone's at us in a bad spot, I feel like I've always kind of got the right mindset, and I'm just confident enough in my abilities. So I think he'll be looking to get out of there as quick as possible if he can, and I think that's his downfall. I genuinely love being in there, and I think that's why I'm going to just break him. I just feel like any kind of pace I put on him, he's gonna fold eventually. Whether it's first round, second round, or third round. I wish this fight was 5 rounds. I would happily fight him 5 rounds.
I genuinely believe that this is one of James Gallagher's toughest challenges. I genuinely believe that this is going to be an entertaining fight. And I genuinely believe that for you, it will be the making of you. This fight, win or lose, is going to look pretty good on your resume. So I look forward to actually seeing up close and personal on September 27th when you two actually do battle.
I really appreciate it, mate. Thanks a lot. I can't wait.
I like the fact that Cal was respectful but assertive. I like the fact that he's not letting, James's penchant for actually being quite verbose, for being quite aggressive and trying to get the psychological upper hand. I mean, I like the fact as well that, he acknowledged that in James's last fight, he was talking about mental anguish, he was talking about anxiety, and he was talking about how fighters, they do need to have a bulletproof mindset. It was quite a revealing take, I have to say.
Yeah, and I think it speaks volumes to a fighter's lifestyle, the culture, like the mindset. And it's a mindset that you probably have to take in and outside the cage. And I also picked up on the same things that you did. This guy is mentally prepared for James Gallagher. You know what I mean? He knows that James is going to be at home during this fight, right? This is going to be in Dublin. That's going to be a hell of a crowd. So he doesn't have the home advantage. And then on top of it, he's not fighting a quiet guy here. He's fighting a guy that's loud, brash, and he's also very good at fighting. So he's got a lot to figure out in his head and to be strong about. But it sounds like he's on the right path. And here's what else I like about him. I like the fact that people are overlooking him and he doesn't care, and he's going to use it to his advantage. I think that's going to work very well in his favor, because I think when people start to overlook your opponent, or you start looking at the opponent after them and you just don't take them serious, they come out and they know this and they kick your ass. So, and Cal is a pretty well-rounded fighter. I watched his last fight with Nathan Grayson, and his transitions into that rear naked choke to win the fight was a beauty. And I'd like to see him and Gallagher have some grappling exchanges in this fight. I'm going to look forward to that especially.
I think it is going to be a fight which is largely contested on the ground because, they are both savages when it comes to grappling, and that should be a real exciting
but Michael,
sight to see.
But here's the funny thing about that. We're going to say that and then watch them just cancel out the grappling because they're both really good at it, and then the whole fight will be on the feet or something. You know what I mean? But does that happen? You think two grapplers are about to have a jiu-jitsu contest, and instead they have this weird kickboxing.
Yeah.
So we could go either way, but thank God they're both well-rounded, because if it goes either way, we still have a great fight,
Speaking of great fights, we've got another weekend of great fights, topped by a card where Rafael dos Anjos takes on Leon Edwards in Texas, I believe this one is going down.
Sacramento. Yep.
Sacramento?
Yeah. No. I'm getting the last card confused. Let me fix that. I'm still excited about Uriah Faber. Let me calm down. I'm still excited about the California kid. This fight is taking place in San Antonio.
San Antonio.
Without Uriah, yes. San Antonio.
I'd say, looking at the card, it's great, but there are standouts which I can't wait to see. Obviously, my UK homie Leon Edwards taking on Rafael dos Anjos is obviously going to be the pièce de résistance, as it is the headliner. But also, I want to see what's going to happen with Greg Hardy and Juan Adams. I think, it's obvious that they are spoon-feeding Greg Hardy doable or achievable opponents that he can actually beat in quite emphatic and spectacular fashion.
You are so polite, Michael. They are giving him cans, but okay. I'll be the dick. They're giving him cans, and you know it. But Go ahead. You say it so nicely, but go ahead.
But you know, okay, let me look at this another way. Forget the fact that he is a social pariah. Forget the fact that, you know, his wife-beating antics. Greg Hardy, obviously, it appears, is a name that the UFC is trying to nurture. How else are they going to build like the stars of tomorrow if they just throw them in there? And look at it. Look at this. This is the UFC. There are no cans in the UFC, surely.
There's no cans in the UFC, and I do agree that you should give Greg Hardy cans because I think he's somewhat of a can as well. But the problem that I have, I'm just going to, I'm going to keep it real, and I do. The problem that I have, and we're going to leave his domestic issues out of this because that's a whole nother can of worms, and that is something that is just so opinionated, and you don't want mine. But the problem that I have is that why is he being shoved down our throats? I think it was the correct thing to do to put him on the Contender Series with other fighters that are of his caliber. But to make him like main events and co-main events on cards where like someone like John Lineker is a prelim and Greg Hardy is the co-main event or something like that, I think it's ridiculous and disrespectful to the fighters that actually are not cans and don't have to fight cans. They're just completely exploiting his past and the fact that he used to be a football player. And I'm saying,
100%.
You know what I mean? And then it's also, I have a problem with his skill set. He should not be a co-main or main event because he's a prelim fighter. He's learning. That's why he needs somebody in the face and then was like, what happened? The fight's over? Because he's new. Like, he's not co-main event material. And I'd appreciate it if they built him up the way Bellator, except for Aaron Pico, the way Bellator builds up everybody. They're on the prelims. They're fighting people of their caliber. I don't want to see this kid on a or main event or a main event and John Lineker is a prelim. Come on, get out of here.
I know. I said that there was, the card is decent, but I'm just going to fast forward to the main event. For me, Leon Edwards has earned this, and it's almost as though he had to ask himself, what else do you guys need me to do? I mean, I'm taking on left, right, and centre, all comers, but yet, you're not giving me a path to the title. I personally feel that this is a path to the title. RDA, though, is one hell of a challenge. And as much as I love my Jamaican brother, Leon Edwards, I feel is going to struggle here because Rafael dos Anjos, yes, he hits like a truck, so does Leon Edwards. But I really do see this taking place on the ground. Yes, Leon proved against Gunnar Nelson that he does have wrestling chops. He proved that, he is quite savvy when it comes to mixing it up on the ground. But RDA is a totally different kettle of fish.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think this is going to be, I'm not trying to disrespect Donald Cerrone and Gunnar Nelson, but I think like RDA is going to be one hell of a test for him. You know what I mean? Because like Donald Cerrone, Dad Cowboy Cerrone's on fire right now, but he does have his moments when he's on and off. Right now he's on fire, even with his loss. But he's beatable. Do you know what I mean? And,
yeah, I do.
And RDA is pretty well-rounded, and he's a vet, and he can get it done. But here's where I'm going to maybe throw a little wrench in here. I think Leon wins, believe it or not. I think Leon...
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and go against my instincts and my man RDA because I think Leon is the dark horse of this division. I think he's quietly going to come up and surprise everybody. I think this guy is good.
How does he win, though?
I think by decision. I think he's just going to gut it out and win point-wise, decision-wise. And I think he's going to avoid the takedowns. But I think he's going to outpoint him. I think he's going to get him. I think he's a lot better than people think. I'm one of those.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
No, let's not get it twisted. I'm not for a second saying or suggesting that Leon Edwards isn't up to the task of proving how good he is in terms of his caliber. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying his caliber, I feel, will be negated by the fact that he is up against, arguably, okay, it was a different weight class. Don't forget, this guy was an ex-champ.
Yeah.
An ex-champ. Okay, albeit, like I keep trying to re-emphasize, in an alternative division. But I feel as though RDA takes this, and he takes this by an emphatic second round, ground and pound.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, let's remember this so that one of us can eat crow next time we next time we record. We're gonna put a stamp on this. And I don't know. I'm just getting that feeling. Even though I feel like I should pick RDA, I've been watching him for years, and I haven't been watching Leon for years. But there's just something mysterious, dark, and dangerous about this dude, and I'm falling for it. I just think he's that dark horse in the division, and something's just telling me pick him. This might be the shocker or the surprise, or I'll be eating crow next week. So we'll see. Because RDA can get it done. I'm listening to you, and I know RDA's abilities. So I'm not saying RDA can't do it. So we'll see who eats crow next week. Let's see.
Oh, 100%. I mean, speaking of dark horse, I think it's time we segued into our next interview. Dark horse, he is. Norman Parke has been on a bit of a tear, running through Miles Price, Boris Mankowski, Arthur Sawinski, and now he will be facing Marian Zawalski at KSW 50, which takes place on September the 14th. Wembley, London, England. Your boy will be front and centre, cage side, probably doing some backstage documentary type footage, bringing you and access all areas of KSW 50. But it was good at last to catch up with my old nemesis, Norman Parke. Joining me next on this week's WHOACAST is Stormy Norman Parke. How you doing, sir?
Not too bad, Michael. How are you?
I'm really well, man. I'm really well. I think I've just about recovered from you drawing a dick on my face on my Facebook page.
Is that whenever I won that 10 point off you, whenever you thought the Cowboy was going to beat Darren Till?
Oh, man, that was a double whammy. Not only did you draw a dick on my picture on my face, but I lost a bet to you as well. You were really quite confident in that bet. I could kick myself looking back on that now.
Yeah, sure. You lost against who was it? Powerhouse too, Alan. You lost 10 point against him too. So it's like 2 losses on one night.
Yeah, I was taking L's left, right and centre. Well, one person who isn't taking L's these days is yourself. I mean, you've been on a pretty successful run. I mean, I have to say, Norman, if you don't mind me saying, me and you always talk quite candidly. It looks as though you are taking things ultra seriously these days.
Is that because I came to Poland to train for the fight? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, well, not only are you calling from Poland, you, in the run-up to the last fight, and indeed the previous fight, and indeed your performances, it looks as though you really do mean business. I have to say, I'm not just gassing you up. You know me, I'm more likely to diss you rather than give you compliments, but you've never looked so good. You have never looked so good. What is what's actually, giving you that added focus, that kind of like determination, which I have to say, up until recently has been lacking?
Yeah, I don't know, because I had the 2 fights against Mateusz Gamrot, them 2 fights, and that was a whole, it kind of messed my head up a wee bit, and then had a wild bad thumb injury after the second fight with him, so I was out for quite a while, and then I got back on a fight on KSW 43 on March of last year, and who was it? I fought Lucas. How do you pronounce this guy? Lucas Klevicki or something? Klevitsky. He's an old veteran. I fought him and beat him pretty comfortably, but it was still at catch weight. It was missing weight and stuff like that there, and maybe I wasn't putting the time in training also to get my weight down. I knew that inside my mind. I just knew that 100%. My coach knew that. Everybody knew that, but I just thought to myself, right, I could have a few catchweight fights here, and then if it gets a big fight, I can make for lightweight again. So I had that fight against that guy in KSW 4-3, and then I had a fight on the Brave MMA show in Belfast. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Fought Miles Price and catchweight again, but still, like I must say I had proper training for that fight, but I didn't feel right in the fight. I got very, very tired after the first round, and it just became another one of my type of fights. Just kind of stall him, lie on him, grind him, no ground and pound, no nothing. But I had to do what I had to do to win. That's all that mattered, because at the end of the day, when people look back, all they say is like, oh, loss, win, loss. There's not really any questions about that, So I said after this fight, I need to put more time in, And then after the fight with Miles Price, I never fought for 9 months, believe it or not. Quite a long time. And that time things was crazy. I was fucking... My head was partying too much and doing stuff like that there. So I thought, right, I need to knuckle down and get back on the ball here properly and really put the time and effort into, because if you're doing this here like that, and you're winning fights, really put the time in and take it more seriously. You can the belt's mine. That's the way I see it in my mind. And then it was last minute. The fight with Boris. I was out going crazy, and I woke up to a phone call to say, "Hey, do you want to fight Boris?" So me sitting there with a rough head on me, I was like, when is this fight? The fight's 4 weeks' time. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to cut weight, so I'm not really going to damage myself cutting weight. Fights at 77 kilos. I'm like 84 kilos at the moment. And then I said, this is no problem. 3 weeks good hard training, I went straight out, did sprints. So I got my fitness to a decent level without taxing my body, cutting weight, And then we fought Boris, and it turned out to be a really exciting fight, real intense, because the drama with me and his team and stuff like this. And he was really trying to knock my head in. So this is what made it a good fight. I felt it made it a good fight because he tried to knock me out and come at me very fast. I think that's what made it an exciting fight for the fans too, because it was fight of the night, and people got to see. I think the Polish fans got to see a different side of me in that fight, because I respect the fighter. Ultimately, I respect the fighter. I know the promotion likes you to talk shit and say all this stuff and stuff like that, but I'm not really like that. I'll only say it when I feel I have to. Like Gamrot, I felt like I needed to talk to him a few times about things. So, and all I said really was the truth. I just felt like he did fouls against me in the 2 fights, without a doubt. Like, I'm not going to cry about this if the lad beats me fair and square. If he's going to play foul games and get off with it, I'm going to talk about it. So we had all that there, scenario with his team, and that made it a good fight with Boris. There was a good build up to that fight, and really once it came to the decision, I thought, oh bro, when I watched the fight back, I thought this is very close fight, very close, because he had one round, he won the first round without a doubt. We know this, and the second round was really close, but he threw a lot of volume, but never really landed much significant strikes in the second round. Because I watched the second round about 10 times, and I says, I win this round. I definitely win this round. And then the third round, he went for the takedown. If he didn't go for the takedown against me, he could probably have won the fight, because once he went for the takedown and I ended up on top of him, he felt weak. There was nothing left in him. He was just, he was just there. He couldn't get back he couldn't posture up and stand up. I felt too strong there at that time in the fight, and then I thought, right, this is enough to win the fight. And then as soon as the bell went, I walked down the cage. You don't see it. I say, don't be fucking me over here again. No chance. You judges, no chance you're going to fuck me. I win this fight. 2 rounds they won.
Wow.
But it took a little while. Yeah, it took a little while for the scorecard to come in, and I thought, and unanimous decision. I thought, oh, here we go. No way. And they were cheering in the corner. I seen his corner cheering. And then they shout my name, and I thought, right, this is it. Yes, I like this now. Here we go. So he went on the microphone and talked. I don't know what he was saying, but he was on the microphone for about 10 minutes talking, But I said to him, respect. He came. I said what I said in the pre-fight interview. I says, you know what? We'll stand toe to toe, no problem, and I'll not go for takedown first against you. He was the one trying to take down against me first. Once I realised he tried to, I said to my coach, right, this is what I know the way he fights. He hasn't fought in a long time, so he's going to come at me hard and fast, try to knock me out. I knew this from hearing some of his interviews. Or the second time, he's going to just move about and look to explode and land shots and then move away again. So I said to my coach, right, if he's going to stay in and try and knock me out, I'm just going to play rope-a-dope, stay inside, let him throw shots, hit me, and just stay on him, because I think he realised once he wasn't going to knock me out. I could see it in him, a wee bit. He started to take deep breaths, and my coach says, there we go, now push it on a wee bit. This is it. This is your fight. And that was it. I felt that was a real good fight. The crowd liked that fight, and I stole some of his followers from that fight too, so it's all good.
It was incredible, I have to say. I was very, very impressed. I mean, from start to finish, you were definitely going for the finish. And I like the way that, you were also mature as a fighter as well. The way in which you approached that, definitely, I would say, is 180 degrees away from, your previous preparation. But just on the weight cut, just on where we're heading into now, a championship fight, how confident are you that you are going to make the weight? Because obviously, I think it'd be rather remiss of me not to mention, you have had a problem with weight cuts in the past.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. This is why it was under one condition that KSW said that if you want to fight for the title, we want you to work with this well-known nutritionist here in Poland who worked with Diakiese. So I've never pronounced that name right, but he worked with her before and worked with Jan Blakovic, a lot of top fighters, Mama Kalido. So he says you work with him for the 9 weeks and you'll make weight. So I've been working him 2 weeks now, and my weight's already dropped. I've got a company who drops my food to the door every morning, and it's all specially made by the way he said. And since I started that, I dropped like 4 kilo already. So, like, I believe 100%. And plus, I'm training 2 times a day. It's not like I'm back home waking up. I'll train later. And then the whole day's gone. Maybe I'll train a little bit on my own. You're not really pushing yourself. And here, this reminds me of whenever I went to the USA, coming here, like. English, they not really speak a lot of English. There's some guys who translate for me, so I like this. I need to think more, learn a bit more, focus more, and I just think this is the time. I think this is the right time for me to go and get the belt. I know I've got a tough opponent. Like everyone you're going to fight's tough anyway, so it don't really matter nowadays. Every guy's tough in some way or another. So I said, right, follow the protocol, what they say, work with this nutritionist guy, Jacob, and so he's texting me every day. The company delivers the food every day. So, I mean, what more could you ask for? Everything's there. It's like, if you miss weight, you're an idiot. But I believe, when I fight Gamrot the second time, I did miss weight by a little bit, 300 grams I missed by, and really I came into the weight cut a little bit heavy. I did come in a little bit heavier, so I did. And that was probably due to lack of not training enough. And I'll be first to admit that. You can speak to my coach and he would say that, it's not too bad if he actually comes training. So this time I'm training 2 times a day and I'm putting the time in. So, that's more than enough time. It just reminds me of when I went to USA, so I feel this is the right time for it to happen.
And in terms of your training, how does that dovetail into your relationship now with Rodney Moore? I mean, obviously, you've been with him from day one. So how does that relationship square now that you're training in Poland?
Oh, I talk to Rodney. I chat to Rodney almost every day. We send messages, And he just says, I know it's good for you to be there. That's number one, important to be there. That's your training. He's happy about that. Rodney's not a coach where he's like, oh, if you're going training there, don't come back like this. He's never ever been like that. He always wants the best for the fight. Always did. He never asked for money, never asked for this, never asked for that. He always wants you to do well, and I can see that in him. And he'll always be, one of the best coaches, probably the best coach I've ever trained under. He's a good friend too, and so he wants the best for me. I know that, and he knows that I kind of messed about too much sometimes with not coming to try to say. I would say to him, I'll be up tomorrow, never really appear there, just kind of do my own thing. So he says, it's good for you to be here, so get back to the grind like the way we used to do. So, and that's what it is, that's what I'm doing. So maybe for 2 weeks I come back and finish 2 weeks back training with my boys back there, and that's it. So Rodney never ever had a problem with any of this here. He just wants to make sure that I'm putting the time in training, and that's it. He's got the fighter's best interest. I know that 100%. I know Rodney, and I think anybody who knows Rodney knows he's like this. So me and Rodney.
I was just about to say, is there a sense though of a bittersweet to the fact that you're fighting for an interim belt with someone who isn't injured, has no reason not to be defending his belt, but this is an interim title. Is there not a sort of bittersweet to all of this leading up to, basically a title shot?
Yeah, I know, I understand that. I'm not really thinking about it, to be honest. I don't care. The only thing I'm thinking about is just me and I'm going to fight Marion. He's another, I'm not looking past him because all the talks about Gamrot this, but here's a sneaky guy coming up who's won 2 fights, who's like no pushover, good grappling, crafty striking, and smart fighter, So I'm not looking past him one bit. My focus 100% on him. There's good training partners here. Lots of I'll tell you, lots of strong boys grappling, striking, and this is where I want to be because I know when the fight comes, this is when I'll switch on. I know I'll be ready 100% for the fight. But for Gamrot, I don't, the deal with him is I don't know, he wants more money maybe from KSW or something like this. I know he's the double champion he got featherweight title, but word on the street he's not going to go back and defend this title because he had a tough weight cut. But he did go 5 rounds with that jiu-jitsu guy, and he won for 5 rounds. So I think he wants more money at the moment. Well, that's what I hear from some people in KSW. He's looking more money, and there's still fights on his contract because if you become champion, you automatically have more fights on your contract. So he talked about his contract's up. It's not up. Maybe he wants to wait it out to go to UFC, but I don't think he will go to UFC. And just my opinion, I don't think he will go because he knows if he goes there, there's no protection. He lose a fight or if there's a close fight, he's not going to get it there. No chance. And so I think it's a good idea for him to stay there because he's get paid good money here. And the KSW brought him up from the bottom to the top. And I know 100% from word people over here that the KSW has sorted him out with places and stuff over here, so they've been really good to him. And so why would you want to go? Why would you want to go whenever you're getting paid decent money and you're a champion? Maybe he wants to test himself against the top UFC guys, the top 15 guys, is the legit guys in the world. Other guys below that are they can fight anywhere. But I don't know what he's thinking, but how funny is it that he's just a stone throw away from my apartment? How about that?
Oh, wow. So you haven't bumped into him as yet?
Oh, yeah, I have, yeah. I bumped, yeah. I'm at the top apartment. He's across a few apartments, but he was driving by and I went, hey, Chish. And he's like, stop. And then up here, I say, what's up, bro? You want to smoke? You want to smoke one? And he had to look twice as if to say, what the fuck are you doing here? But he knows I'm here. He knows 100% I'm here because there's some guys there's one guy who he's pretty friendly with who's training in ANCOS. And, he don't really speak too much to me, but, I kind of keep my arm's length with some people, but the coach 100%, the same with coach, they give him everything when he comes from, nowhere to the top, and then they leave. Him and Boris, they leave the gym. But so I, whatever he wants to do, I'm not really thinking about it, to be honest. I just think about me training for myself, focus on myself. If that fight comes around, and I get the belt, the fight will probably happen at some stage. But I don't know what the deal is with him. But I'm only focused here to come here. I'm not coming here just to throw digs at Gamrot or anything. It was just where can I go to train? I was thinking where to go, and then because I got this Polish guy who helps me with some things, with some sponsors here in Poland, because I can't really talk to Polish people. They don't know what way to take my language,
Yeah.
So he kind of sorted everything out for me, and he says, "Come here. I think it's cheap here. You got free apartment. You got everything. I got everything I need for this training." So, and I'm 100. I wake up every day, just go to training, wake up, go training, rest, go back to training. I did that for the last week here now, and I think, right, this is perfect. I need this. So that's the number one reason. I'm not here for anything else. I'm here for myself, really, mate, to be honest.
Well, there is one way of actually looking at this. I mean, it kind of leads me on to my final question. Let's just imagine we fast forward to September. You basically starch this guy. You put on an impressive performance. Well, it's only right that you and Gamrot have the trilogy. Does that excite you? Does that give you any kind of, does that have any magnetism for you in the slightest?
Yeah, it does in a way, but I don't like this the way he plays. I don't know if people obviously there's two sides. People are going to take his side and people are going to take my side. Like, but I know as a fighter, man, like I'm not 100%. I'm not like a cheating fighter or anything like this here. If you play a dirty game, like I will talk about it. And I said, like, if I fight this guy again, he'll do everything in his power to stop me winning. I mean, like if it's eye pokes or anything, because I want to fight him for 5 rounds. And they always say to me, after your fight with Gamrot second time, your face was smashed up. I says, but listen, when I fight Boris, my face was completely smashed in 1 round. I says, the fight's not even over. I says, let's keep going. Because I think my style, because he knows I'm good at defending the takedown against him, and we're going to end up just brawling on the feet. And I think this type of fight he don't like on the feet for 5 rounds. I think he's going to get tired and I would take over. But, I mean, a lot of people agree with me and a lot of people disagree, but ultimately what I seen when I was fighting him, I could see him slowing down. He didn't like this and he started playing the fouling game. But this is all past now. I don't really talk about it, but I just think if we did fight again, he would play these dirty games, which I don't like. But before you said there, like, go out and smash this guy, like, I'm not, me, I don't really smash fighters. I'm just a grinder. Like, I'll always stay like that, I know, understanding I don't finish fights or anything like that, but I still I appreciate my style too, and I'll not change it really for anybody, to be honest. If people don't like my style, it's simple, they don't have to look, but I know 100% they're going to watch anyway, because most of them want to see you lose. I know a lot of people want to see you lose, a lot of people want to see you win, so that's like with every fighter. But don't get me wrong, I would love to go in there and smash this guy, take him down and just like TKO him with ground and pound. I would love that, but I know it's going to be hard fight. In my mind, I know it's going to be hard fight. 100% I'm a smart fighter too. I want to fight smart. Because this guy, I feel, is going to fight smart against me. And watching his last 2 fights against the 2 guys he fought in KSW, he fought very smart and technical, like 1-2s, he never pushed forward too much. So I think I'm going to be chasing him on the fight. So it's going to come down to who's the better fight IQ in the fight. This is how I feel this fight's going to go. But I think it'll be a decision fight, to be honest. I 100% think it's going to be a decision fight. But, he's been finished before and stuff like that. And I'm not going to act like, because he's been finished by other people, that I'm going to do it, Like, I haven't finished anyone since 2014. So I'm not really in a position to sit and say, I'm going to smash him and tap him out or knock him out. People know it now. They just know, Norman's going to be fighting till the end. So people appreciate that now too, because they know I won't quit. Like, even when I get tired, when I fight Miles Price, when I fight Francisco Trinaldo, I was fucked after 1 round with the 2 guys. And I says, no way will I quit, no chance. And so I would just keep digging and chipping and find a way to keep going. So that's what people know, that I'll never quit when the going gets tough, And that's, for me, I think this is number 1. Michael.
Incredible. Well, come September, we'll be cage side, more than likely in the winner's circle, and hopefully see you there.
Yeah, I'll put that belt round you and then we can have post-fight interview. How about this for champion?
That's a deal. That is a deal. Until then, Norman.
Thank you very much, mate. It's a pleasure to speak to you. It's been a long time, but thank you.
Well, thank you. And I'm looking forward to when you annotate another of my Facebook pictures.
Maybe put a little dress on you or something.
Take care of yourself, buddy.
I think you'd look good in a wee pink dress.
Nice one, Norman. Take care, buddy.
Thanks, mate.
And the fact that, I called him and he was in Poland preparing for this fight just shows you how serious he is. And, I think we will see a decision which is grounded out. And I think we will see Norman Parke raising his hand in victory. And then that will kind of set up what will effectively be the Gamrot trilogy. I can't wait actually to see him actually go back into battle with Mateusz Gamrot, considering the history that they have.
I mean, I'm glad you're all happy over there, but I'm not happy that I'm still upset he was released from the UFC. when he fought Rustam, what is his name? Khabilov, I'm saying it wrong, but he was released in 2016, and I know he had his little skit or whatnot, but I was unhappy with that, and I think too that he's somebody that because of his background, how he looks, his name, he's sellable. You know what I mean? Like, he's very marketable. And it was unfortunate. I don't know. I just had like an eye on him when he was fighting in the UFC, and I thought he was hella marketable. So I was kind of upset when they let him go. And the guy's he scraps. He puts his heart into it, and I like him.
We'll put it this way. You know, the Rustam Khabilov was, I think, the final nail in the coffin. I've always ribbed Norman about this, so I'm going to make no bones about it. And as Norman alluded to in that interview, that was why, you know, he drew a dick on my Facebook page. And, you know, we've had our run-ins in interviews previously. But I'm just, you know, calling it as I see it. And I'm glad that Norman was really quite open about, you know, agreeing, and that is, he doesn't go in there to finish opponents. He goes in there to grind out a decision. But of late, it does look as though he's been trying to get the finish. It does look as though, you know, he's been tenacious in pursuing some kind of, you know, first round, second round, at least trying to claw back some kind of decisiveness. And I really do feel that perhaps this might be the coming out party for Norman Parke, because, you know, of late we have seen him really chasing an emphatic victory.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with chasing emphatic victory, because we all know that entertainment aspect of fighting plays a huge role in a fighter's career. You know what I mean? It can enhance your career, actually. That's why you got people out here dressing up like magicians and on the Contender Series swinging wild for the fences for finishes, you know, like, there's a reason. But there's also nothing wrong if you're a scrappy, love to beat the shit out of somebody guy, Norman Parke. And that's part of the reason why, that's why I missed him in the UFC, and it's why he caught my eye. I didn't mind the decision wins or somebody being scrappy, as long as you're active. Do you know what I mean? And if you stay active and you're just beating the shit out of somebody and you're pounding them, almost like a Khabib or, you know, like a Tyron Woodley when he's on top of you, there's nothing, that is entertainment too. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's nothing wrong if he wants to be a little flashy, and it'll only help him and get his name out there. And he's a marketable looking dude and he can fight. So I'm all for either one, you know, and I respect the guy that just wants to beat the shit out of somebody for 3 rounds. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Oh, I hear you. And as I say, I personally feel as though that is really going to be the theme of his up-and-coming fight.
Good.
But to the point where he actually secures some kind of like TKO. Now, I know that this week is a little bit different in that the way that we're actually ending off the WHOACAST is with a few questions from our listeners. But before we even get there, I feel it's only right that those people who have actually left comments on iTunes, just to encourage more take-up, one of our incredible sponsors, Licru, is actually going to give one lucky person who actually fills out 5 stars, obviously, a review on iTunes. If you are able to see your way or segue your way over to iTunes, there will be a massive hamper of alcohol waiting for you, or waiting for one lucky winner who will be chosen at random. So get over there on iTunes, leave your reviews, leave your stars, and a winner will be selected at random. Not next week, because I'm going on a little family vacay. So the following week, we'll be announcing the winner. So make sure you get over there, iTunes, and leave your review. Now, we're going to end off with a few questions which we took via Twitter. I'm really hoping that I'm relying on you now to have actually collated those, and we'll segue neatly into listener questions.
Okay, not a problem. I got one right here. It's from my good buddy. We often speak on Twitter. His name is Fighting With Myself Podcast, and you can find him at FWM_POD, and he has a great podcast. And his question is, in your opinion, Mike and Gina, what's next for Amanda Nunes? She's cleaned out 2 divisions. What do y'all think?
You know, I would really like to see... I'd like to see her against Jermaine Durandamy. I'd really love to see that. You
took the words right out of my mouth. And also at the end of his tweet, because, you know, he's really into MMA as well. And he says, only rematches ahead, it seems. And he's correct. The only fights right now that make sense for that young lady is Cyborg, or the winner of Cyborg versus, it's a young lady named Felicia. I forget her last name. Oh, I should have looked it up, because Cyborg is about to fight her and she's undefeated. So the winner of that bout. But me personally, I prefer GDR. She's on fire right now. She's awesome. I don't care what, you know, people think about her when she pulled out of the fight with Cyborg, or when she kept hitting Holly over past the bell. It was horrible, but that does not negate the fact that this woman is a legend in Muay Thai. She's a beast technically, and she can give Amanda a good fight, and it'll be a good test for her. So my answer to that question is GDR.
100%.
Yep.
Who we got next?
Who do we have next? Let me take a look. This this is a pretty silly question, but it relates to UFC Sacramento. And it's from Hectic One, another homie of mine. We go back and forth, and you can find him at Hectic, HEKTIC, the number 1, and then ONE. I hate these names can be so dramatic on Twitter. Well, here's his question. Would you rather get heel hooked by Ryan Hall or eat one of his spinning back kicks? Because, you know, in his last fight, he kept going for the heel hook on his opponent, Darren Elkins, and then he caught him beautifully with like several spinning back kicks to the man's face, and they looked pretty terrifying. So would you rather be heel hooked or kicked in the face, Michael?
I'd rather be kicked in the face, to be honest with you, because I feel that I could recover quicker than having my flipping tendons ripped to shit.
Oh, wow. I was going to say the heel hook, but being that you just said it feels like being ripped to shit, maybe I'll just take a quick, swift kick to the face. Perhaps
because you come around, you're smelling salts, you pick up your fight of the night, your joint fight of the night bonus, and, you know, at least you will be walking around with your tendons hanging all over the place. Ain't going to happen.
I don't know, Michael. I like my pretty face. I don't really want like I don't want to look like a raccoon because I got hit in the face. I don't know. Perhaps I'm vain. Perhaps it's a bit, you know, a little bit of vanity here. But, you know, I don't think shorties are checking for raccoons and black eyes for me. So I might take the... I'm going to change my answer. I'll take the heel hook because I'm going to tap as fast as I can before those tendons rip apart. There's my answer.
Okay, next question.
I think that's all we got for now, Michael. The other ones are just really silly and, you know Twitter. They are a hot mess.
Okay, we'll put it this way. Look, there's no such thing as a silly question, I believe. Let's just go for one more.
One more,
Give us one of your silly ones.
Okay, let me see. This is from Jamie Matty, and you can find him at, this is easier, ITS Jamie, and then MATEEE, and his question is so adorable, and this is more for me than you. He said, my question is, why am I your favorite Scottish person on Twitter? And I'm like, wow, Jamie, you kind of already answered the question. I have a cute story, and it's real short. Jamie, you don't know this, but I muted you a long time ago. You got on my goddamn nerves, and I
Wow.
And I muted him, and then for some reason I unmuted him, and then I fell back in love with this kid, and now I tweet him all the time, and he is hilarious. So if you want a good laugh and you want to talk MMA, I suggest you follow this kid, and I have forgiven him, and I hope you're not mad that I muted you, but now we're back and we're good. So, and yes, you are my favorite Scottish follower. It's a true story, though.
I like that question because you just outed yourself.
I did, and I remember when I unmuted him and we started to get along, I was like, I feel so bad. I muted this kid, and he was just out in the dust for mad long. But no, we're all good.
Okay, well, that wraps up this episode of the WHOACAST. Like I said, head over to iTunes, leave your review, your 5-star review for that wonderful case, or the chance to win a wonderful case of liquor from Liquoroo. Speaking of freebies, speaking of merchandise, don't forget to head over to WHOACAST.com. I don't plug this enough. The fact is, we have a merchandise, we have a store, we have ways in which you can represent the brand regardless of where you are on the planet. We've got hoodies, we've got t-shirts, we've got baby bibs, we've got aprons, we've got bags, we've got hats. Every single conceivable thing you can think of with the WOTV logo or WOTV branding on it is over there under merch at WOTV.com.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm headed over there right now.
Sweet. Until next time, make some trouble.
I sure will, and you have a good time on vacation, buddy.
Will do.
Oh.